That one was way too close for comfort. The Pistons pull it out against Portland just barely.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Khahil. You can find me over on Twitter at Khahil. I've been covering the Detroit Pistons for the last 4 years for the Locked On Network, been a media member over the last 3 years. I appreciate all of you guys who make Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I also want to thank you guys for making Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network in America. We appreciate all of you guys' support. Later on, we'll talk about how well Jalen Duren and Ausar Thompson played, and also we'll get into the talk of the town after the Pistons win is, where was Jaden Ivey down the stretch? Jaden Ivey was not played down the stretch in this fourth quarter. He had played well beforehand, and JB did not close with him, and we got some interesting comments from JB after the game as well, so we'll get into that. But let's start with the game itself. The Pistons get a win 110-102 over to the Portland Trail Blazers. The game had no reason getting this close. No reason getting this close. The Pistons' largest lead was by 21 in this game. They were absolutely dominating the majority of the game. There was one point at the end of the third quarter where Cade came out, and I was wondering if we were even going to see Cade again. Cade did not play a good game in this game, but the front end, I should say, of a back-to-back, I was like, okay, maybe they don't even need Cade. They're up by 21. They're dominating the Portland Trail Blazers. He'll be able to just get a nice, a nice 20 minutes in and then be able to be rested for tomorrow. And that's what it was looking like it was going to happen. But then Cade came back into the game early in the fourth quarter because the Trail Blazers went on a little bit of a run. And then he fouled out with around 8.5 minutes left in this game. Cade fouls out. He picked up 5, which Jaden Ivey was getting everyone into foul trouble. In the first quarter, he got Ausar into foul trouble with 3 fouls instantly right off the bat. And then Cade checked him for a quarter, and then he got 5 fouls immediately. The Trailblazers dominated the free throws. They had so many free throw attempts, and so many of them coming from Jaden Ivey. I can't believe he has that type of whistle. Don't get me wrong. I think Denny is a really good basketball player. He's very good. But 15 free throws for him. Sissoko getting 13 free throws between them. Between just those two guys, they had more free throw attempts than the Pistons' entire team. But he picked up 5 fouls while guarding Denny. And they ended up fouling out of the game on an offensive foul. With around, 8 minutes and 32 seconds to go, he picked up his 6th foul, and it was an 8-point game at that point. It was 97-89. All it took was 4 minutes. 4 minutes and the 13-second mark. After 4 minutes, the Portland Trail Blazers would have taken the lead after being down by 21 9 minutes ago. 9 minutes ago, they were up by 21. And then they found themselves down by 1 with 4 minutes and 13 seconds left. Cade was out. They didn't have really any other ball handler and we'll get into this later on in the episode, but it doesn't seem like they really had any other ball handler that JB Bickerstaff trust. It was looking dark. It was looking dark for the Pistons. However, Tobias Harris fights in the glass, gets an offensive rebound, draws a foul, gets 2 free throws, puts the Pistons back up by 1. That immediately off of that inbounds after the made free throw, Ausar rips up Shaedon Sharpe and gets an easy dunk, puts the Pistons back up by 3. At this point, this was those two, the free throws by Tobias and the dunk by Ausar was such big time plays, because if you were watching this game live, and maybe you didn't because it was super late, and I'm super tired right now because of how late it was, the crowd was going crazy. The momentum had completely shifted to Portland, and the crowd was deafening. You could hear it through the broadcast. They were losing their mind. It felt like the Pistons were going to lose this game. So for Tobias to be able to get those free throws, hit both of them, and then Ausar immediately get another steal and dunk 6 seconds later as well to put the Pistons back up by 3, it really took, it felt like a lot of pressure off the Pistons' shoulders and allowed them to then play their game. And then they followed it up with Jalen Duren gets an offensive rebound, fighting his absolute tail off with Donovan Clingan, pats the ball to himself from out of bounds, grabs the offensive rebound, then was able to finish through contact, puts the Pistons back up by 5. So it was so close to it going sideways, but the Pistons made pivotal plays in the face of crazy momentum going against them and a crazy crowd. And thanks to Jalen Duren, thanks to Ausar Thompson, thanks to Tobias getting a few free throws, and then Ausar hits them with a dagger put-back dunk, dunks on Clingan on a put-back dunk, finishes it up 109 to 102 with 58 seconds left, and after that, it was cooked. The Pistons ended up closing this game out. My feelings on this game is like very mixed, because on one hand, you're like, the Pistons are up by 21. There is absolutely zero reason that you should ever be in this close of a game at the end of the day. There is absolute zero reason you should be giving up the lead after being up by 21. The only lead Portland had all night was that point at 4 minutes and 13 seconds when they went up by 1. That was their only lead of the game. You had dominated them throughout the majority of the game. That third quarter was domination. The Pistons won that quarter 34-27. They won the second quarter and the third quarter 31-25 and 34-27. There was no reason for them to be this close at the end. So part of you, and then Cade fouls out. He didn't have the great game. So part of you goes and says, this was really bad win for the Pistons. They really could have lost this game. A lot of stuff they can't have happening. They got to clean up a lot of stuff. But then on the other hand, part of me is sitting here saying, in a weird way, was it like a satisfying win to see? Because in order for the Pistons to have pulled this game out, all of them that were on the floor had to keep their composure, had to stay confident, and make big plays. Again, like I said earlier, in the face of momentum, in the face of knowing we just surrendered this 20-point lead, our leader, our best player is fouled out. This is not looking good. They could have easily panicked. And any other Piston team from the last few years, even last year's team, I feel like wouldn't have pulled this out. They would have fell down the stretch. They would have panicked, and it would have been a loss that we would be talking about in the podcast, like, how did you lose this game? But for them to keep their composure and make big-time play after big-time play after big-time play, the effort that it took on a lot of these plays, Jalen Duren especially, the effort that he showcased on a lot of these plays on the glass to make sure the Pistons get another chance to close it out, I think really makes it like partly really impressive that they were able to get this win. You don't ever want to see it get to this point. 100%. You don't ever want to see them squander the lead and for you to almost blow a game like this. But for them to respond and keep that composure in a clutch situation, end up winning the game by 8. At 4 minutes, they were down by 1. They ended up winning by 8. And again, Cade wasn't there. Other guys had to show up and make big-time plays, and they did. So I have mixed emotions on it. Part of me wants to really celebrate and be like, man, that took a lot, and that's really impressive for them to do. Another part of me is just like, dude, how do you let that happen? Like, there's no reason they shouldn't have even gotten to that point. So, actually, let me know in the comment section down below how you guys feel. Are you guys feeling good about this win? Are you feeling bad about this win? Where are you at? How are you feeling about this? Let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil. Coming up, I want to talk about how great of a game Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duren played and why these guys are really showing themselves to be just, obviously there's Cade, but then there's two foundational building blocks, and they've really showed up and showed out for the Pistons. I want to break it down coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment with live spreads and money lines that adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up, And you can also bet the next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive with every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season with FanDuel, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. That's with FanDuel. The game moves fast, so can you with FanDuel. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And all of you guys who are everydayers out there, if you want to take it to the next level, you can join our Everydayers Club, where you will get access to ad-free audio feed for Locked On Pistons, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You also get an invite to the members-only Locked On Everyday Club Discord, which has a Locked On Pistons channel. If you're a Lions fan, it has a Locked On Lions channel. You can talk your sports every day with the rest of the community at any time. Join that with the Everydayer Club. You can go to lockedonpistons.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes below to learn more. Ausar and Jalen Duren absolutely came through for the Detroit Pistons and showed out. Jalen Duren, what he did, I want to start with JD, who, by the way, we've talked about it enough, but he is having an outstanding season. I was talking with somebody, I forget who it was. I was talking with somebody outside Detroit. I don't remember if it was someone at the game I was at previously that wasn't a Pistons fan, or if it was, why am I forgetting who this was? I was having this. It might have been one of my friends from Chicago. But whoever it was, I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was like, the leap that you're seeing from Jalen Duren is crazy, because if you looked at him now, if you looked at the December 23rd, 2025 version of him versus the December 23rd, 2024 version of him, it's two completely different players. Two completely different players. You would not recognize this player on December 23rd, 2025 that you saw on December 23rd, 2024. They're just two completely different players. We've given him a ton of credit for that. But I wanted to make sure I said it again, because it truly is like seeing the effort that he's giving on a consistent basis on the defensive end of the floor. He had one block. I don't know if, actually, I take that back. I don't even know if they gave him a block for it. They might not have. But there was one play on the defensive end of the floor where Shaedon Sharpe beats his defender baseline, which, by the way, you guys know I'm a Shaedon Sharpe guy. Have been since pre-draft. He's going to be very good, man. Now, he had a lot of turnovers in this game. That was, not great. But his finishing ability is crazy, and his shot creation in the mid-range is he's going to be really good. But there was one play, he beat his defender baseline, drove to the rim, was trying to, looked like he was maybe going to try a dunk on somebody, but then went to a double clutch. And Jalen Duren went up straight up against him, took the contact, didn't lean forward, didn't try to block the shot, stayed straight up, stayed disciplined, and forced a turnover. Whether they gave him a turnover or a block, I don't know which stat they gave him for it. But Pistons ended up getting the ball out of it because Jalen Duren with just a disciplined, great rim protection rep, and that's just something he would not have done last year. He just would not have done last year. So it's crazy to see his improvement. But that third quarter, what he was doing to the Portland Trailblazers was worthy of a prison sentence. Like, he should have been, what he was doing to the Portland Trailblazers, he should have been locked up for. He was beating them to death in that third quarter. He had 14 points on 7 shot attempts, just dominating them, getting the ball into the paint, pushing them around, dunking on them, giving them Euro steps, finishing at the rim. Donovan Clingan couldn't do nothing with them. Like, he was seeing ghosts. He was having his biggest Sam Darnold impression of all time. Duren was driving against him, giving him a floater, gave him a left-hand running floater, gave him a Euro step finish with his right on the left side of the... Like, it was... I mean, he was giving him the full package, and that wasn't even just... That's not even considering the offensive rebounds he got and then putting it back over. Like, he was dominating them. Dominating them in that third quarter. And then we talked about it in the fourth quarter when everything turned against them. He came through with numerous key rebounds to really give the Pistons another chance and to put them back up by 2 possessions. So Jalen Duren had a fantastic game. He wrapped it up with 26 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. So I think it looks like they actually gave him a block for that. On 11 of 15 shooting, this was in, by the way, 23 minutes of action. 26 and 10, 2, 2 and 1 in 23 minutes because he dealt with foul trouble early. He's so good. He's become so good of a player, and he's improved so rapidly. It's absurd. I'll say this at the end of the game before we get to Ausar. JB, and this is something we'll talk about. We'll dive even further into it when we talk about Ivy later. The Pistons offense late should have been give the ball to Jalen Duren at the high post, give him the ball at the elbow area, and trust him to create. Because the other options that JB was choosing to trust, which again we'll get into even more later on, was not the move. It wasn't the move, and it was leading to very cringy offense that could have lost the Pistons the game. At that point, Jalen Duren probably is, and really, even when everyone's on the floor, might be the second most trusted self-creator within the half court the Pistons have. Might be. Because of how much he's improved. So, honestly, I think in those situations, JB should start trusting him to be the guy to self-create and take advantage in the half court, especially in a situation like this when you don't have Cade. That's what I would have done. I would have trusted JD a lot more late in this game. They ended up winning anyways due to some transition buckets, offensive rebounding, and defensive plays, but their half-court offense was really bad in the fourth quarter. I feel like JD could have really helped. And then we got Ausar, who I said it last podcast. I'll just say it again. This dude's going to go down as one of the greatest defenders we've seen. He's one of the most versatile defenders I've ever seen in my life. He starts off the game at the point of attack. He picks up 3 fouls instantly because apparently the refs. I didn't know this, by the way. Denny is drawing the 3rd most fouls in the NBA this year. That feels ridiculous. But he picked up 3 straight fouls on Denny in the first quarter. He also fouled out Cade. The Pistons had 28 fouls in this game. It was ridiculous. The Trailblazers had 43 free throws. 43. I mean, that's just ridiculous. But point is, they start him off at the point of attack against Denny, where he's been all year and where he's been arguably the best point of attack defender in the NBA, just flat out for the majority of the year. So the adjustment that JB makes going into the second quarter and for the rest of the game was, all right, Ausar, you're not going to guard Denny. We'll have you guard Shaden. We'll have you guard Sissoko. We'll have you guard Kamara. And we want you to just be an off-ball guy. We want you to be an off-ball demon. We want you to sit in the passing lanes, and we want you to dominate the glass. We want you to just be this crazy off-ball guy. We don't want you at the point of attack because we don't want you to pick up your 4th foul. So I want you to just go out there, be an off-ball creator on the defensive end of the floor. And then it's just oh, okay, sure, that's easy. I'll just turn into prime Dennis Rodman. You want me off the ball. He goes, you can be Tony Allen, more athletic Tony Allen at the point of attack. And then it's oh, hey, can you go be an off-ball guy? Can you go be a great rim protector on the weak side? Can you go be a great defensive rebounder? Can you go be a cornerback in the passing lanes? Can you go do that off ball for us? Oh yeah, sure, I'll do that at an elite level as well. It's crazy. It's crazy. He can go from just the best point of attack defender and then immediately just warp into Dennis Rodman, depending on the role. And he had 12 rebounds, which is why I'm saying this. He had 12 rebounds. He finished the game with 18 points, 12 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 assists. Fantastic game from him. Another great game from him. And you kind of got you kind of had flashbacks to when to how he was used for the majority of his rookie year with Monty. Because if you remember, Monty played him as a 4 a lot in his rookie season. He was averaging, I think, 9 rebounds a game his first 13 games of his rookie season. Because as a rookie early on, Monty was having him play as a roamer, as a weak side rim protector. He was still getting on-ball stuff, obviously, but he was being utilized a lot more as a weak side rim protector, as a rebounder, as an off-ball demon, and he was doing great at that stuff. But then once they pivoted to JB, and especially once he got back from his blood clots, we have not seen him used like that really that much at all. We've seen him mostly used as a point of attack defender, where he's also great at. But we got to see glimpses of this against Cleveland last year in that game. I believe they were without Tobias and Cade. In that one OKC game, they were without guys as well. You get to see glimpses last year where they put him at the 4 And now he's just blocking shots at the rim. He's securing rebounds at the rim. And then he's just pushing in transition, which, by the way, he was doing tonight, was creating some good offense. He was getting defensive rebounds and then pushing, which you got to see a lot of his playmaking happen there. And some aggressiveness getting to the basket as well, which was really nice to see. He's just tremendous, man. I don't know what else to say. His defense was crazy. The ability to just play multiple different roles at such a high level is absurd. The aggressiveness we saw from him offensively to score the basketball, we're seeing that happen now multiple games in a row. He shot 2 of 4 from the free throw line. I'll maintain that this free throw routine looks much better. He made his first 2 and then missed his final 2. I think this free throw routine is going to be good for him. I think this is much better than what he had before. Those 2 guys are just tremendous, man. JD and Ausar, they're big time players. And in the plays that he made, Ausar, down the stretch of the putback dunk or the ripping up Shaedon Sharpe and then getting an easy bucket. Again, the Pistons were only up by 1 and the momentum was against him when he got that steal. And that was a real ballsy reach to have because he had 5 fouls at that point. He fouls there, he's out the game, and he times it up perfectly, gets all ball, and is able to dunk it on the other end. Ausar and JD, those 2 guys, they're tremendous. They're going to get extensions. JD will get his this offseason. As soon as Ausar's up, they are going to extend him. I'm telling you guys that, not just from what I know. Actually, yeah, it is what I know. He will get extended as soon as his extension time comes up. JD will be extended this offseason. For them to show up like they did at the end of the game without Cade and all the situation that was happening, it was a tremendous game from those guys. Again, final stat line for JD, 26-10, 2-2-1 in just 23 minutes. Ausar had 18-12, 3-3 in just 27 minutes of play. So I can't say enough about how great those guys were. Coming up, though, another storyline from the game. Jaden Ivey had a good game here against the Portland Trail Blazers, but did not play late for the Pistons. A lot of anger about why that happened. He was asked about it after the fact in the post game. We'll talk about it and try to break it down coming up. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do, locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again, and channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades with a desktop with Robinhood Legends Advanced Tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, so expect more from your money. Get started at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, it's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move with Robinhood. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. The other storyline from this game is what JB decided to do down the stretch with Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey, this game only played 18 minutes of action. And I am going to pull up the previous games real quick before we talk about this with Jaden Ivey. He didn't play much in the fourth quarter. And when the Pistons got down and Cade went out the game, they very clearly needed another ball handler. He went to Danis, JB that is. He went to Danis early. Danis didn't play well. And then he brought Karras back in for the final 3.5 minutes of the game. Ivey was sitting on the bench. Ivey in this game was 5 of 8 from the floor with 11 points. Played a fine game. Much better this game. Played much better this game than he did the last few games. By far. Looked much better in this game. Much better. But he still wasn't played at the end of the game. So there's a lot of questions about what's going on. JB was asked about it after the game. I want you guys to pay attention to this. He says when he was asked about Ivey, he's coming along. He's not in an easy position by any means, but he's coming along, gaining his confidence, understanding where he fits. We want him to be aggressive, and we want him to play how J.I. plays, end quote. He didn't say anything in that about a minutes restriction. Now, people are going to say, oh, well, he has to be in a minutes restriction. He has to be on a minutes restriction. I am telling you guys right now. I do not believe it is a minutes restriction. If it was a minutes restriction, he would have said he's not ready to play more minutes. If it was a minutes restriction, he would have said he can't play more minutes. It's not a minutes restriction. I'm going to continue to point this out. December 6th against Milwaukee, he plays 15 minutes. Next game against Atlanta, he plays 19. The next game against Boston, he plays 21. Those 3 straight games were his best games since coming back. He played well in all those games. Then he didn't play that well against Dallas. He only played 14 minutes. Then he had that rough game against Charlotte. Only played 13 minutes. Then, against Portland, he plays 18. We saw him get to 21 minutes against Atlanta, and he was steadily going up and up and up in minutes as the games were going on. And now, since then, we've seen his minutes go down, down, and back to 17. That is not a minutes restriction. It doesn't make any. If he's on a minutes restriction, he can't go past 18 minutes. Why has he passed 18 minutes 3 times before this? That's not what it is. It's not a minutes restriction. This is what I'll tell you it is. The last 2 games, I don't think he played very well, so he just didn't play. I think that's what it was. This game, to me, is pretty telling on where JB is with these players. My understanding of why he didn't play Jaden Ivey down the stretch is because Cade was out the game, and he wanted to play a point guard. Again, a point guard he trusts to not turn the ball over. Because who they were playing out there, they were playing at Javonte Green with Ausar, JD, and Tobias. They were playing Javonte because they wanted to put him on Denny so Ausar didn't pick up a 6th foul. So they had Javonte, Tobias, Ausar, and JD, so they needed a point guard on the floor. He went with Danis first because he trusts Danis to be a ball handler, not turn the ball over, and create and run the offense. Then he went to Karras, who we know he trusts Karras because of his time with him in Cleveland. We know he loves Karras. Karras was awful in this game. He was terrible. He was 0 of 8 in this game, but guess what he didn't have? He didn't have a turnover, and I'm assuming that's all that JB's looking at there. Is that this is a guy I can play in the 4th. We don't have Cade. I need someone who can just get us into offense that I can trust is not going to turn the ball over. That's what I believe he looked at here with Karras, and I believe that's why he hasn't played. He didn't play Ivy in this situation. And the ways in which they've played Jaden Ivey since he's come back, he has not been asked to run much on ball at all after the first few games. First few games, they let him run some on ball stuff. It didn't go so well. After that, JB has made him exclusively an off ball player. He has not been on ball at all, which to me, again, he's warming up. He's getting better. He's getting 100%. He's getting on looser minutes restriction. All that's true. But the actions speak louder than words. The way in which JB is using Ivy and not closing with him in this situation, that's screaming. That is telling you he does not trust Ivy as a ball handler. Now, you can disagree with it. I'm just telling you what it was. JB is telling us very clearly he does not trust Ivy as a sole ball handler. I believe if Cade was here in this game and the same thing was playing out and Cade was here, I think he closes with Ivy. Because I think he trusts Ivy as like a guy that can play off of Cade, that can play off of a point guard. But I think it's very clear that if he wants someone to be a solo guard on the floor, be the only ball handler on the floor, he just doesn't trust Ivy. He just doesn't. And he trusts Karras way, way more. And again, Karras was awful in this game. But it's been clear by his actions that he just simply trusts Karras more to be that solo guard, despite him being terrible in this game. So, again, we've talked about it numerous times. This situation is just going to be interesting because they can say everything they want. The beat guys can say whatever. Actions speak louder than words. JB not playing Ivy more down the stretch and going to Danis and Karras more, just that screams everything you need to see or everything you need to understand. Ivy's minutes going down after crossing 21 minutes and him playing Karras more, that just tells me that JB trusts Karras more than Ivy. And in this game, Ivy thoroughly outplayed Karras. He thoroughly outplayed Karras in this game. And he still went with Karras down the stretch. That tells me he doesn't trust Ivy as a point guard. He trusts him as an off-ball guy, doesn't trust him as a point guard. And in a critical situation like that, you just lost the lead. He doesn't trust Ivy. He trusts Karras more. And to be honest, It's not just Ivey, it feels like, that he didn't really trust. We just talked about last segment that I wanted him to go to JD more. It doesn't seem like he really trusted JD at all, really, because he went to Tobias ISOs over and over and over again at the top of the key as part of their offense in the half court once Cade went out. So it doesn't seem like he really trusts JD either to create offense if they're put in that situation. Doesn't look like he trusts Ausar really in those situations either. And obviously he doesn't trust Ivey in those situations either. He trusts his vets. He trusts Karras and he trusted Tobias. That's what it tells me. That's all that it's telling me. So I'm sure, like, I believe, for what it's worth, like, I believe Ivey probably can't play 30, or they don't want him to play 30 yet. But don't try to gaslight me, and don't try to tell me, oh, what, maybe it's a minutes restriction, when we just watched him play 21 minutes 4 games ago, and each game he's lost more and more minutes. That's not minutes restriction. That's you choosing to play him less. You're not gonna. I know enough people, talk to enough people. Yeah, I'm not gonna get gaslit by some. It's not going to happen. It's not a minutes restriction, dog. Again, maybe he can't play 30, but it's not why he only played 18 in this game. They could have played him a few more minutes. They already have multiple times. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how many minutes he continues to get in the next few games. See if we see him get back above that 20-minute mark. I don't know. But he thoroughly outplayed Karras tonight. Again, 11 points and 5 of 8 shooting. JB just seems to trust Karras more as a point guard, which Trajan, I'll say this, going into a season, banking everything on Ivey to be your backup point guard and then abandoning it after a few games with no other clear option to be your backup point guard has now put you in the exact same situation the Pistons found themselves in last year, where they didn't have a point guard on the roster outside of Cade that JB trusted, so they had to go out and get Dennis Schroeder. The Pistons now find themselves, I think, in the exact same situation then. They really should have just went out and got one, and that's why I said all offseason, don't do it. Please go get a point guard. And it looks like to me that you find yourself in the exact same situation. So let me know in the comment section down below or over on Twitter at Khahil how you guys feel about all of this. That's all I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. Hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel. Leave a 5-star review, whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there, and peace out, everybody.